This is our Kitsap Legislative Pulse for Thursday. What is today? October 14th? Is that today?
Yep.
Time is flying. So this is a joint effort sponsored by the Silverdale Chamber of Commerce with our Kitsap local chambers, Bainbridge Island, Bremerton, our Greater Kingston Community Chamber of Commerce, Paulsbo, and of course, South Kitsap Chamber of Commerce. So we wanted to welcome our partner chambers in the Greater Kitsap community. We have a very important topic today. Of course, this is election season. As we all know, our ballots have dropped. They're in the mail. If you didn't check your mailbox, it's probably sitting there waiting for you. If not, it's very quickly or shortly behind whatever's in your inbox today. Of course, on our ballot this year in Kitsap, Proposition 2, talking about the 911 call center, is going to be up for decision. And we're very fortunate today to have Chief John Oliver from Central Kitsap Fire and Rescue as our guest. He's going to tell us about Prop 2, what that means, obviously, for his organization, why that's important for the citizens of Kitsap. So, Chief Oliver, just real quickly, a quick bio here. He joins us after many, many years of service down in Oregon. Looks like the Oregon Clackamas Fire District #1, the second largest district down in Oregon. And after many years of service there, he retired and then took a job up here in 2015. So retirement didn't last very long.
Not very long.
We're very pleased to have him. Of course, the accolades are numerous for Chief Oliver, and he's very active in our community, not only through our Chamber of Commerce, but also as a Rotarian up here in Silverdale. So we thank him for not only his service with Central Kitsap Fire and Rescue, but also his activity in the greater community. John is he's a proud grandfather, and in his free time, of course, he enjoys fishing and boating with his family, and he and his wife, Kathy, live in Paulsbo. So without further ado, Chief Oliver, I'll go ahead and cede the floor to you. Let's hear about Prop 2.
Well, thank you very much. In a second here, I'll share my screen. You know, I got a really nice letter today from David about our membership with the Chamber of Commerce. And, you know, we value the Chamber of Commerce and the connection that your fire department has with the community through the chamber. So thank you very much for this opportunity to help Kitsap 911 get the message out about their Proposition 1. And without further ado here, I'll share my screen. And what I'll do is go through a little presentation regarding Proposition 2. Hopefully I'll answer some questions that some people have, or I may even spur a few more questions. But again, on the behalf of Kitsap 911, all the fire chiefs are helping get out the message of what exactly Proposition 2 entails. The first off, and it's a common misnomer, but Kitsap 911 is a standalone agency. It's not part of county government. It's much like a sewer district, a cemetery district, a water district, a fire district. It's really a standalone agency, not supplanted by any property tax, and no really funds from Kitsap County government, other than the user fees that Kitsap County pays for the sheriff's dispatch services. These are all the agencies that actually participate in Kitsap 911's services, and each one of them pays a user fee, and some of them are kind of unique. The emergency management, juvenile corrections, the animal control, the coroner's office, and then the traditional law enforcement and fire. So it really is a full service agency, and it serves the entire Kitsap County region from bridge to bridge, is what they like to say. They answer over 1,000 calls a day, and that's 1,000 911 calls that come through the 911 center. And since the current radio system was built in 1997, that call volume has increased 50%. And we are at a precipice or a crossroads where we need to replace this a large radio system, because again, it spans the entire county, all dispatch from right there above Kitsap Auto Mall there up on the hill. How is our system right now? And this is a really interesting map. We commissioned a coverage study because we had heard a lot of reports of police units and fire units out in the system that couldn't get on the radio. And I was talking at the community council night the other night and got a wrenching story of a deputy that had to make the decision whether he had his hand on somebody's neck that was bleeding or let go and run and get the medic unit that was parked around the corner out of the way because he couldn't get on the radio. And that was a pretty heart-wrenching story. But we had a radio study done. And in this coverage map here, in the areas of green are the only areas in Kitsap County that have public safety grade communications, which is fascinating. If you look at the map, in the Silverdale area is one of the worst coverage areas in the county, which is fascinating. When you get out into Seebeck and Crosby and Hinceville and even North Kitsap area, there's no coverage. And what that means is that police officers and firefighters specifically can't call for help. They can't call for backup. If they come into a scene, often they can't even get on the radio. And statistically, 60% of our first responders transmit for help within the first minute or two of arrival. And generally, if they can't get on the radio, they can't call for help, and they're literally out there on their own. This is a kind of a trilogy or a calendar, but I use this, and as Dave just mentioned, I retired out of Oregon out of a big metropolitan department. And that metropolitan department had a VHF analog system, which is the current VHF analog system we have here in Kitsap County. And what was fascinating is we migrated from that VHF analog system to VHF digital 2 decades ago, and then went to a 900 megahertz system, an 800 megahertz system, and they're now switching to a 700 megahertz system. Kitsap County here is literally 4 generations behind in technology and coverage in radio systems. Our radio system is literally patterned after World War II era technology and concepts. So the challenges, as I alluded to, is that currently we have very little coverage. Congestion, my agency has grown exponentially since 1997. Literally, we're building 4 new fire stations. We will staff 2 of those new stations as soon as they're open. And literally, there isn't even enough radio capacity to facilitate for more units on the air. Clarity, which is interesting in it, and I was just at Rotary this afternoon doing this presentation, and I asked Rotary, what is the #1 challenge for clarity on our radio system? And it was fascinating. Nobody knew. But the #1 challenge we have on our radio system is LED lighting. All of the LED lights operate on the same frequency as VHF analog. And you can imagine when we go by the brand new St. Michael's Medical Center with all those LED lights, we literally have no radio coverage. And that just goes to show how technology is advanced and impacted our current radio system. We used to get a lot of skip, and that's kind of a funny story. We would hear Bellingham and Olympia all the time, and we'd hear ladder 1 from Olympia or engine 51 from Bellingham skip. They'd hit a sunburst or a ceiling, and we'd hear them like clear as day here in Kitsap County. And what's interesting is we don't hear them anymore. And the reason we don't hear them anymore is because they've upgraded all of their systems by using this 1/10 of 1% option that the legislature gave a couple of years ago. So literally, we're one of few departments still on VHF analog. Encryption is very interesting. You can literally pick up your iPhone, download a free app on your phone, and listen to every police and fire transmission in the entire county. So a SWAT team, a detective, somebody doing, going after an active shooter, you can actually get on your iPhone and listen to every police transmission. And you can obviously understand if we're trying to catch a bad guy in the back of Walmart, he just listens and he goes, I'm going to walk out the front door because all the police are in the back. So the new radio systems, literally by a push of the button on the portable radio, the officer can encrypt their transmission. So no one can hear that. interoperability, we currently can't talk to WestDOT. We can't talk to the Navy because of all of their systems have been upgraded. And what's even more fascinating is we can't talk to Kitsap Transit because Kitsap Transit's already updated their system. So we have very little interoperability. And unit identifiers, that is we had a discussion today at Rotary, but that's if I have a portable radio in my hand and I key it, but I can only get a couple words out. The radio says, he tells the dispatcher exactly where I am, exactly whose radio is, and they can send help right away. And that's what unit identifiers are. The current radio system we have is a whole patchwork of towers and microwave backhauls and links. And it's really based conceptually antenna to antenna. If you can hit an antenna, then the antenna will carry your message through. The new radio system that we're recommending to go to, and what most all agencies have gone to, is antenna to computer. So really what the antenna on your portable radio does is it hits a tower, and then the computer grabs that transmission, cleans it all up, and sends it back through the system, and you have crystal clear radio communications. You have better coverage, interoperability, and they're expandable. You can do multiple units. So the immediate issue we have right now is our current radio system won't be manufactured after 2021. And in 2028, if we needed to buy a new Fetzer valve for our radio system, we would literally have to buy it off eBay. They will no longer sell parts as of 2028. So why a sales tax? What's interesting, Kitsap 911 by charter cannot bond or levy like our fire district does. They don't have that ability, so they can't bring a bond to the voters to pass to upgrade the radio system. One of their only options is a 1/10 of 1% sales tax, and this one right here that we're talking about in Proposition 2 was afforded by the legislature a couple of years ago for 911 systems only, and predominantly most of them take advantage of to upgrade their systems. Most of the sales tax will go towards the direct cost of the radio system, but it'll also pay off a bond to buy a new radio system right away. So we won't take years to buy a new radio system. We'll borrow the money, and then with the proceeds of the sales tax, pay off a 15 or 20-year bond. It will also keep up maintenance, technical improvements, technology additions, and upgrade all of the mobile data computers and all of our first responders apparatus. Why don't they have a capital reserve for this radio system replacement? And that was a question we got the other day. Their annual budget is $12 million a year. A new radio system is estimated to cost $41 million. And you can think back in 2008 and 2009, literally most public agencies during the recession were just trying to keep the doors open. And a budget of $12 million, you would have to take significant personnel services or operating supplies out of the budget to save, enough money to make $41 million. And that wouldn't be really responsible government to have that kind of money in the bank. So that's why we come with this. So the proceeds to the Proposition 2 will go off to pay the expenditures or the bond indebtedness to 2035 and basically pay off the bond for a new radio system. And how much does it cost? It's 1 cent for every $10. It's 0.01% sales tax. And some people say, it says 1%, is it 0.1? No, it's 0.01 or a 1/10 of 1% sales tax on taxable purchases, which means about, and somebody used the analogy today, you'd have to buy 3 Starbucks mochas before you paid 1 penny towards an entire new radio system. So that's Proposition 2. If you have questions, again, we're making these presentations on the behalf of Kitsap 911, and on their webpage, they have a whole bunch of other opportunities to answer questions and more data. So really, at this point, do you guys have any questions?
I see any questions coming out of the field, and we don't have a lot of folks on the call today. I'm just looking through the chat and things like that. I don't have anything in there. I guess I'll just throw in a quick question here. Devil's advocate question is, obviously the sales tax is always a hard pill to swallow for the general public. So for those folks that would have a question about, the funding being via a sales tax, what would Kitsap 911 respond to that?
Well, again, and I understand, I was born and raised in Oregon, so I understand no sales tax. And I understand that, again, this is really their only opportunity to fund a capital project of this size. They can't be like a fire district or a sewer district where they can actually go out and do a levy or a bond. So it's really an opportunity to upgrade their radio system through a sales tax. Additionally, if you really conceptually think about it, specifically in the Chamber of Commerce's realm, Silverdale is a regional shopping center. So you get people from Clallam, Jefferson, Mason, Pierce County that come in to purchase goods and spend money in our businesses. They will actually help pay for the 911 system that they use, if they get in a car wreck or have a heart attack.
Hey, great answer. Any of the other chambers in attendance, I would put it to you to see if you have any questions for the chief here. Seeing none, I think that's about it. Well, we have a short program then today, unless there's any other information floating around. There is a public meeting upcoming on this very important topic, and that's going to be on October 19th at 6 p.m. This is a Zoom meeting, and we would encourage you folks to attend to get further information. You're going to hear a lot of comments probably from the public on that, probably some comments in opposition, but we're definitely going to hear a strong case in support of Proposition 2. Obviously, 911 services are critical. I have businesses in other jurisdictions where a call to 911 doesn't bring you anything. So we don't want to lose any ability to have that resource available to the citizens of Kitsap County. So please attend the public Zoom meeting, again, October 19th, 6 p.m., where they're going to go over the Prop 2 issue in great detail. Chief Oliver, I'll thank you for your time, and then I'll turn it over to Dave Evans. Dave Evans, if you have any other announcements. Nothing there? Okay. We have a next legislative pulse scheduled. He's muted out. So while we don't have a legislative pulse on the calendar right now, I will remind you that also on October 19th in the morning, Eggs and Issues is sort of kicking off again down in Bremerton. And Eggs and Issues, we will be discussing and talking to the candidates for Bremerton City Council. So that's going to be an important one. So start your day on October 19th over Eggs and Issues, meet some of the candidates for Bremerton City Council, and then in the evening, just after happy hour, come on over to our public meeting about Prop 2. And don't forget to vote, folks. We know it's important. This is how our voices are heard, and it's our right as citizens, and we encourage everybody to vote. With that said, if there's no other questions or comments from the gallery, we're going to go ahead and sign off and thank Chief Oliver for his time today.
Thank you again, Chief Oliver. It's important that we get this information out to our public. And it'll be on the Monday morning memo, the recording, and for people to view.
Thank you, David.
All right.
Appreciate the invite.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.